I quit my $500K a year job when I learned this one thing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. It also changed my life. We're gonna go speak at an event, one of the biggest events in the world with Tony Robbins himself. I'm gonna show you behind the scenes and we're gonna break everything down.
Her mission is to bring humans into financial freedom, making them fluent, making them understand the language of money, making them understand that they can do more, be more. Can we please give it up for Miss Codie Sanchez?
Oh my gosh, this was a long day. We did a lot today. Do I look cool? Wait, do you guys know where we are today? Arizona. This is my hometown. I'm from Arizona. It's 102 here today. It's not lovely out, but it's a beautiful place. But right now I'm prepping. I'm prepping to give my speech tomorrow. I get nervous when I'm on a stage with a bunch of my peers still and trying to make sure that I give impact to people. I take it really serious that people spend any amount of time with me. I mean, you guys don't have a lot of time. None of us do. It's the only thing we have that's limited. We can't make more of it. We can't buy more of it. It gives me anxiety thinking about, fuck, how do I make this good enough for everybody? And I'm totally having a mental block. You know, typically I stay in my little safe zone, which is how to buy businesses and spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are kind of like safe for me. But when I'm thinking about how do I try to get people to actually believe in themselves, to do the thing that they're supposed to do deep down inside, I end up feeling like it's a little cheesy. And I don't know if it's gonna make a real impact. But I have this speech, this is it. It says, you have anxiety because deep down you know you could be doing bigger things, which I think is true for like 99.9997% of us, but we don't really want to believe it. I think I'm supposed to be eloquent here, but it's late and I'm not feeling it. So you guys get to see the other fucking side. All right, bye.
You might be like me, trying to figure out how to leave a really high-paying job, or any job where you get a paycheck that pays for your life. I think it's the hardest thing a human can do, to leave the safety zone. So I try to figure out a way to de-risk my life. But let me first talk to you about a theory that I think everyone could utilize no matter what job you're in, even if you're not an M&A. And that's what I call the stair-step approach. Before you scale out, I want you to scale up in pay and down in company size. Here's what that means. So step one, I started at one of the biggest asset managers in the world, Vanguard. I had a low paid job, 36K-ish a year, and I didn't have much responsibilities, and I was a huge cog in the machine. So I stair-stepped down in size. I went to Goldman Sachs. At Goldman Sachs, I made more money, let's call it 75, 100K. And at Goldman Sachs, then I was a little bit less of a cog in the machine. I had increased my earnings, which increases your safety net. Then the third step is I went to a company called State Street. Now, State Street itself is huge, but the division I went into State Street, called the Asset Management Group, was pretty small. That's where I started making multiple six figures. Then I had more of that safety net. Finally, I went to a company called First Trust. At that company, way smaller than State Street. I'm talking huge worlds of difference, but I was making 500, 600K a year at First Trust. This stair-step approach is really smart because what it allows you to do is then you take that extra money and you play with it, and you turn that into multiple income streams. So that's exactly what I did. We're looking for 4 words, skin in the game. If we can get you out of the employee game and into the ownership game, you will never have to work for somebody again in your life. Now, it's not easy, but it is simple. Here's how I would do it all over again, and here's how I explicitly did it. Let's look at the exact timeline on deals. I went back to get the dates right for you guys. So I bought my very first business in 2012. At the time, I'm still working in finance. This was a small little website. I paid a couple $1,000 for it. That business started generating some income consulting called Selling South. Then I had to exit that business because my boss at the time said, can't do both, Codie. Can't have it both ways. After that, I bought my second business, which was Threads Refined. That was like 2013. Threads Refined was a styling marketplace. I actually hated that business, but that business taught me how to make my first couple of dollars online, not related to tying my time to money. I ended up selling that business to one of my stylists, made a little bit of money, not that much, employed my mom in it for basically nothing. Somebody called the Department of Labor, and I moved to my third company. That third company was like something like 2014. I started doing joint ventures, JVs, when I was at a company called First Trust in Chile, Mexico, and in Colombia. So I learned on somebody else's dime how to do these deals. And I was like, oh wait, if we structure it this way, then we get a piece of it without any money down. I can start cash flowing right away and have an immediate ROI on my time. That's what I learned at First Trust. Then we get to 2015, where I'm traveling nonstop. I'm on planes all the time. I'm in South America all week. I have no time to look at doing deals or to running them. So I had to get smart on how to get an operator run a business for me. This is the first time that I start buying businesses where I don't actually run them. Before that, I never even thought about it. I thought I buy a business and I run the bad boy. Now, I do the opposite. I start buying businesses with other people and having them run those businesses for me. Flash forward to 2017. This is when I got my first exit in a business. I bought part of a company called Open Fortune. Actually, Gary Vee invested in this bad boy now, but it was basically a fortune cookie marketing agency. It sounds ridiculous. I invested about 50K, made about 300K on that deal when I exited it. At that moment, I started realizing, wow, if I do 1 or 2 or 3 deals, I could replace my entire salary through acquisition. The hardest part of this whole transition was figuring out how to replace entirely my income and how to do it in a way without a ton of risk. And none of those sexy businesses really worked. They were fun to talk about, but they weren't actually fun to cash flow on. What actually started working for me is what I now call boring businesses. I think if you want to change, the easiest thing to change is your scenery. And it's hard to be a different person in the same setting. So if you actually want to make a change, what you should do is change your surroundings. Don't be afraid to leave the place that you were in order to become the person you want to be. Most people will not do that. Most people will stay where they are and think that they can become changed without being in a changed place.
No shock, I made a name for myself teaching people how to buy existing businesses. You could even call them boring. But what is a shock? The average entrepreneur spends 68% of the time working in their business instead of on it. Wrong move, you gotta duplicate yourself. Here's one of my secrets to creating a second Codie. Roll by ADP is a total unlock in getting time back while paying people doing the work on time. Because nothing says I'm your new boss and you're gonna love me like paying your employees on time. Roll by ADP is a payroll assistant in your pocket, providing accurate calculations so you don't gotta check your math while you're on the 10th Zoom call. Also, because the IRS is scary, tax deposits and filings are guaranteed by ADP, so if the IRS comes knocking, you got some backup. Basically, they take the guesswork out of what to do next, providing step-by-step assistance. They even do it in English and Spanish. So become the boss, you know you can be, and take at least one thing off your plate. You can start your free trial today and get 3 months free by using the link in the description. Now let's get back to more fun facts I'm definitely spitting in this video.
In my 20s, I left Arizona right after school, worked at Goldman Sachs in Chicago and New York. Then I went to Boston. Then I went from Boston to Dallas, Texas. Then from Dallas, Texas, I lived in Chile for a while, lived in Mexico City for a while. That's when I was at State Street and First Trust. And then I went from Chile to Washington, D.C., then from Washington, D.C. to San Diego, and then moved to Austin.
Let me tell you a story real quick about Codie way back in the day before we fast forward to today. I remember what it felt like when I was in corporate America. I wasn't happy. I felt stuck. I didn't have any money. You know, I remember more often than not going to use my debit card and seeing the checking account overdrawn and hearing that sound when you go to check out and the credit card or the debit card doesn't go through. And it's that beep where you try to pretend like, oh no, I don't have the right card today. This is the wrong one. I don't know what's going on. I better call the bank. But knowing that you have no cash. And I know I'm not alone there because I posted about it and thousands of you mentioned that you're in the same spot, which is why we're doing a video like this, because I don't think you have to be. I think if this Codie now could go back and talk to, I don't know, 21-year-old Codie, there'd be a totally different conversation. Here's what the problem was. I thought that more money in a job was the solution. So I kept chasing earning more, earning more, earning more, and I thought that would fix it all. I had the white picket fence, big house, movie theater in it. I had the Porsche, we had the Rover, we had the country clubs. All I realized is that I was just making the golden handcuffs tighter and tighter. So I made more money, but I was spending more, so really, I was cash poor. Here's the thing I wish somebody would have shook me with and said. that if you work in a corporate 9 to 5, you are on borrowed time. That's what ended up happening. Like, I did all the right things, started making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in a corporate environment. And what I realized is I started building this huge business in Latin America. And the business was close to $1 billion in assets under management. During that time, I thought I was doing all the right stuff. I had the clients, we were making more money, I was hiring the team. But one, only intrinsic motivation lasts. Intrinsic means that you naturally want to do something. It sits inside of you. It's a want that is purely yours, as opposed to extrinsic motivation, which means you want it because like Bob has it and Carol has it. And so it's called mimetic desire, which means that you don't really want a thing, you are mimicking other people wanting a thing. Most people live their life in mimicking and they don't even know it. They see Bob's new car and they want a new car. They see Sally's Instagram following. I don't know whose name is Sally, but you get my point. Huge Instagram following, they think they want it. Then they get that thing and they realize they were chasing somebody else the whole time. And that's what happened to me. Here's the problem when you chase somebody else's thing the whole time, is eventually you catch it. You catch it, you realize you're not happy, and usually because the universe probably has a sense of humor, it kicks you in the ass. And in this case, that's what happened to me in Latin America. I built this big business, and then the people who ran the company said, we don't like the way you're building it. We actually want this guy, our buddy, to run it instead of you. So like, I don't know, you could work for him and you could do it our way, or you can pound sand. And so I lost all of the quote unquote equity and business that I had built because it was really somebody else. I was trading on borrowed time the whole time. In the world today, there's really 3 types of people. There's owners, there's renters, there's squatters. Most people, everybody starts as a squatter. You live in your parents' house. I don't think any of us paid rent. Some people squat for most of their lives. Then the second is renters. You go and you rent an apartment, and I don't always mean just where you actually live, but it could be a rental of a job. It's just on loan. And then some people get to this ownership level where they get equity, partnership, they do deals on the side, they get skin in the game. And for many, many years, I was one of the first 2 and never the third. So there's a saying that everything you want is on the other side of fear. I also think everything you want is on the other side of fuck it. There's this fear, this wriggling, niggling doubt that you have when you're looking to leave a company or you're looking to go out on your own, and questions start to pop up like, what am I going to do? What if I can't make more money? What if this doesn't work out? What if other people think that I'm crazy? What if I end up not being good enough? And it takes a certain type of human at a certain point in their life when they've been prepped to actually make the jump. Most people don't make it. That's why only about 19% of people in the US actually have any type of ownership, including stock market ownership. But I guess the question to ask yourself is, do you want a boss by choice or by need? So today, I'm gonna go talk to a bunch of people who probably need to make the jump and maybe, just like you, aren't ready to do it yet.
Mom, Dad, what are you doing here?
Came to see your daughter.
Oh, you got me flowers. Love you guys.
Speech day always goes the same way. First, it's get up early in the morning, go for a walk, get a workout in. I think Tony Robbins was right when he says, when you move your physical state, you shift your mental state. So I always start that way. Then cold shower like all the hipsters do these days, but I actually like it. And typically I don't have all of this going down, but it's sweet when I do. And then while I'm getting ready, typically I listen. That's what I have in my ears right now. I'll record my speech from like the night before, so I'll record myself giving it. And I will listen back to it. What did I like? Ooh, I didn't like that line. I really liked this line. And I'll usually listen to it quite a few times before I go and speak, even if I'm changing slides and whatever. And then I don't have a very good memory at all. So if you were to see my speech, there's a shit ton of slides because I always give a new speech. I never do the same one again and again, which means that I need triggers. I need just a little reminder. If you're not very good at speeches, I think it's really hard to memorize, and I like visual cues that can take you from one thing to the next and allow you to weave your transitions more organically. So that's the play for doing speeches.
Hello. How's it going? So excited. All right, guys, you want to come on in? Let's do this.
Amazing guest that flew in just for you. And our first guest is a new friend, and she's the CEO of Contrarian Thinking. Her mission is to bring humans into financial freedom.
Honestly, watching this is pretty incredible. I kind of forgot that there are so many people that are exactly where I was. You don't know what to do. You don't feel like you're good enough. You don't have the answer to get out of the situation you're in. And I see these people sitting alone in their house in little boxes. And it reminds me sort of why it's so important, all the stuff that we're doing. There's a bunch of us who feel super alone, who don't have others to help them, who have nobody that are saying these types of things to you. And so, yeah, it's just a speech. But maybe it's a lot more.
She's doing amazing things. I'm so glad I get to watch her. I'm watching her grow, and I'm so glad she jumped on a plane, flew here just for you. Can we please give it up for Miss Codie Sanchez? Thank you.
Thank you. This is amazing. Hello. What's going on? Hello, everybody. Your beautiful faces. It's so cool to see here. I'm going to share a few things with you today that, candidly, although I'm all over the internet, I typically don't share.